Good morning, everyone. This is Ben Weisner, excuse me, your host and presenter. Thank you for joining me for our webinar, Read Live Distance Learning Features Overview. I'm a senior member of the Read Live team, and my job is to educate and support teachers and administrators who are using our programs. This morning, I'm going to provide you with an overview and demonstration of the new distance learning features now included with Read Live, including the latest features released earlier this month, and how to incorporate them into instruction and student support. It was apparent from the questions that came in that there are a variety of experience levels present today. So just a few remarks on what this webinar will focus on. This is not an introduction to the basics of the Read Live program. We have another webinar recording posted on our site that covers the basics. We previously recorded a couple of webinars over the past several months which describe in detail how Read Live supports distance learning. There may be some slight overlap with those prior webinars, but I'm confident that everyone attending today will pick up some new and useful information that you can put into practice. As our time is short and there's much to cover, I will not be responding to questions at the end of our webinar, but I'll point you to some useful resources and I'll follow up with you on your questions after the webinar ends. I've shared a copy of my slides, which include resource links to our website in the meeting panel on your screen, as well as within the webinar email reminder you received this morning. Links to resources are embedded in the PDF handout. All you need to do is click on the blue underlined text to view or download more information. Many of you have asked about a recording of this webinar. I'll be sending out a follow-up email with links to the recording and the handouts with resources in about 24 hours. So look for that in your inbox tomorrow. Feel free to share the recording with anyone at your school or district who you think would benefit from this valuable information. Also, at the end of our session, you'll be asked to provide us with feedback about today's webinar via a short survey. If you could, please respond to the survey so we can continue to improve the webinar experience for all of you in the future. And finally, if you're having technical difficulties, please contact GoToWebinar support. Their phone number is listed at the bottom of the meeting panel. Now, let's get started. So here's my information. If you need to email me after our session is over, if you have questions that haven't been answered during our webinar, feel free to email me, or you can call my office number. Although we are not in the office, you can leave me a voicemail message and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. So we're going to be covering Read Live and distance learning. I just want to provide you with the confidence to know that Read Live is very much designed, even without the distance learning features that we've added, to support distance learning in a number of ways. It's a web-based program. You can use it on a variety of devices, including regular computers, Chromebooks, and iPads. And there are some offline support features, including being able to print out the Read Naturally Live passages and quiz questions, and the Word Warm-Ups Live exercises. But of course, we've added over the past year a number of new features, including the Login As button, the ability to have students time themselves during the hot timing, and the waiting list feature. Most of the steps in Read Naturally Live and Word Warm-Ups Live can be completed independently, and all of the steps in 1 Minute Reader Live can be completed independently. The program is customizable and it supports differentiation. There are a number of school-to-home tools, including 1 Minute Reader Live and other tools that I'll talk about, as well as support. And we have up-to-date how-tos and training for both teachers and students. Many of the features and tools that I'll be talking about today can be found on our website on a link provided to you in the handout, and I'll show you where you can find it as well towards the end of my presentation We have an entire section on our site that provides a detailed series of articles that goes over how to use Read Live in a distance learning model. And again, I'll show you where to find that, but you can use the link in your handouts for that as well. So the distance learning features that we'll be talking about today include how to assign an assistant role to parents or to other teacher assistants within your school, and a new feature that we've added called the team function, which allows those assistants to more easily access the waiting list and assist teachers with remote learning. As I mentioned earlier, you can have students record themselves during the past timings, send the recording to the teacher for asynchronous scoring. You can log in as the student for easier screen sharing if you're using tools like Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams. There are real-time student progress and engagement indicators, including the waiting list and some additional features that we've just added, including the current step column, which I'll demonstrate for you. You can customize story options, and there are a number of parent communication tools that allow you to email progress reports, certificates, and awards to parents. So I'm going to briefly list out the new features that we've added on March 13th when we released the update, which also included 1-minute Reader Live. And then I'll demonstrate these for you. So we've added a new team feature for assistants. There's a new current step column. There's a waiting list counter where you can see how many students are waiting for you, the lead teacher, during cold and past timings. There is a login as button indicator. The login as button turns red if a student is logged in. And then we've added the ability for you to turn on or off the recording features. So I'm going to switch out my screen so we can take a look at how those work. And I'm going to share my browser. And I'm going to log in as a staff member. We're going to take a look at some of these features. I'll go to the home page. And the first thing you notice when you go to the home page now is if you have students who are waiting during cold timing and past timings and for whom you are the lead teacher, you'll see this little red indicator. So I can see that there are 3 students that are in those waiting steps. So I'll click on the waiting list. And you can see there are actually 4 students here, but I am the lead teacher. In this demo, I am Joe teacher. I'm the lead teacher for 3 of them. David Higgins is a different lead teacher, so we'll be able to see all the students waiting in the school, but my indicator only shows those students for whom I am the lead teacher. Another new tile that you'll notice is the team tile. The team tile is where you'll see any assistants that have been added into your school's account by the account administrator. And then if you click on this little checkbox, that enables that assistant to be part of your team. And the primary benefit of that is that they will be able to, when they log in as a staff member, they'll be able to access the waiting list, which they were not able to do before. And I'll demonstrate that for you a little bit later. Another new feature is the waiting list column. So you can see that both in the, I'm sorry, not the waiting list, the current step column. And you can see this column in both the Read Naturally Live screen and the waiting list screen. So you can see here, current step, it's the 5th from the left, and it shows you which step each student is on. If you want to filter by step, you can simply click on the 3 little line icon to the left of the column heading and then see, okay, which students are just about to select a story. Click on Apply Filter, and that shows me those students who are at the beginning of their lesson. And then if you want to clear that filter to see all, that's how you would do that. So that's a new feature as well. Another new feature is being able to turn on or off the recording ability for students. So if I go to a student's record, oh, I'm sorry. That's not where we do that. We do that in Change Story Options. So I'll click on the little checkbox next to the student's name, and then click Change Story Options for selected. And then in that third column, you can see Enable Recording Features. That is on by default. I'll demonstrate how that works a little bit later, but you can turn it off for individual students if you wish, if you don't want to provide them with access to that. Or the account administrator can turn that off for the entire account, and that I will also demonstrate later. And then finally, I'm going to log in as a student in another browser window. So bear with me here for a moment while I do that. I'll click Login. And I don't know if you can see that, but in the upper right-hand corner, the Refresh List button is glowing and has changed to a different color. If I click Refresh List, and the reason it's glowing in a different color is that some status has changed for one or more of your students. In this case, the status is that the student has logged in. So I'll click on Refresh List. And then you can see that Jane Doe is logged in because her login button is in red. So that will help you when you are wanting to use the login as button, because logging in as the student will actually log the student out of their session. Also, we'll let you know which students are actually actively engaged in the program at any given time. Now I'll log out as Jane in my different browser. The Refresh List button is glowing. I'll click on that again. And you can see that she's no longer logged in. So that's a quick overview of the new features. And I will go back to my PowerPoint. So many of the features that we've designed are useful for both cold timing steps and pass activities. And I just want to go over quickly what pass activities are, and then I'll demonstrate that for you when I do my demo. So pass activities happen when the students are ready for hot timing. So the activities include having the teacher either sit with the student in the classroom or do a remote screen sharing with the student. So it will involve starting a timing, counting missed words, and assessing students' expression. Teacher will then review any open-ended quiz questions, review the retell with the student. If the student is in the phonics series, there is a word list timing that has to be completed, reviewing the work with the student using the summary report that appears after student has gone through the steps, and then conducting any remedial actions with the student if they've missed one or more of the pass criteria. So those are the pass activities in brief. Options for pass activities, including assigning a parent to an assistant role in the program and having the parent do the pass activities, having students complete most steps at home, and if they are in a hybrid situation, completing pass activities in the classroom with the teacher. Teacher using a function called remote control within programs like Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and to some degree Google Meet to conduct pass activities. If remote control is not possible, for whatever reason, your school or district does not allow it or the tool does not allow it, then you can use our Login As button to log in as a student and share your screen and conduct pass activities that way. And then finally, you can have students record themselves during the pass timing and then send the recording to you, basically just by saving it, and then teacher can, within the functionality of Read Naturally Live, do past timings without the student being present. So you have many options for performing that, the past activities. I've listed in your handout the general steps for performing past activities, regardless of the tool that you're using. I won't go into it now. I've kind of gone over that as I've been talking, and I'll talk through that when I do my demo as well. But here are the steps written out for you in case you need those. So let's talk a little bit more about the waiting list and what that's useful for. The waiting list lists all students in the school waiting for the teacher to monitor either cold or hot timings. The refresh button that I pointed out to you earlier glows blue if something has changed in the status of a student. If you click on refresh, you'll see the most recent student activity. So in other words, if a student has entered into a cold timing waiting area like Wordtastic, the button will turn blue. You'll click, it will glow blue. You'll click on it, and then the screen will refresh. The waiting list also displays whether the student has recorded their hot timing. There'll be a yes under the recording column, which I'll show you in a moment. And then you can also use the current story details report to show steps student has already completed. So let me bring up my demo again, and we'll go back to the home screen, click on waiting list. And you can see the recording. There's a recording column with yes listed under there. The last login date, the current story details report, if I click on that, will show me what student has completed during the time that they've been working in the program, give me a better sense of their progress through this particular story or lesson before I begin a past timing, if that's of interest to you. What I'm going to do now is go to a different account. I'm going to log in as a student. And this student happens to be on the prediction step in Read Naturally Live.
Look at the story title, keywords, and picture. Write a prediction about the story. Then, click Next to continue.
So let's say I'll type in my prediction. I'll click Next.
Play Wordtastic while you wait for your teacher. Click the best answer to score points. Click on the words you don't know to hear them read to you.
So this student has entered into a waiting state. If I go back to my teachers, my staff member module, you can see that the number has increased from 3 to 4. I'll click on waiting list. And this shows me that Melissa Powell, who I'm logged in as in a different tab, is currently logged in and is waiting for the teacher for cold timing. So that's all I want to show you for now. If I go to Melissa's screen, I'll click log out. My refresh list button is glowing. I'll click that, and it still shows her in the list, but she's not logged in any longer. So that's the waiting list. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the login as button. Again, the purpose of login as is when using a tool like a Zoom, which allows you to control the student's screen, is not possible for whatever reason. It's possible there's a device issue or permissions issue. In those cases, you can use the login as button, which I'll demonstrate for you. to log in as a student to share screens during a remote session like using Zoom or Google Meets. So log in as will log the student out and log the teacher into the student session to more easily conduct timings during screen sharing. So a tip, remember to log out of the student session so that student can log in again. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you. So I'm going to go back up here, go back to my account. And I'm going to go to my student tab again. And I'll log in as a different student this time. And this student is on the retell step.
Retell or summarize the story in your own words. Click Review Story if you want to read the story again.
So let's say the student is typing something into the retell. And they've completed that.
Now you're ready to pass. Read the story and play Wordtastic until your teacher comes to pass you on this story. Click Start Timing and begin reading.
So here again, you can see the refresh button is glowing. Bernice is logged in. Now I'm going to log in as Bernice. So in other words, I have her on a Zoom call. I'll click log in as. I get a message telling me that the student is currently logged in. You want to let the student know that you are going to log him or her out. So let's pretend that I'm doing that. I'll click yes to log the student out. I'll click.
Now you're ready to pass. Read the story and play Wordtastic until your teacher comes to pass you on this story. Click Start Timing and begin reading.
So I've logged Bernice out of her session, and now I'm sharing my screen with her as if I were her. So what I'm going to do is have her pay attention to my screen. I'll click Conduct Past Activities, type in my own user ID and password. And just as I'm doing with you, I'm going to walk through the past activities with Bernice. I'll click Start Timing. I will count the number of missed words, select an expression score, review the open-ended quiz questions and the retell. And then once I'm done, I want to make sure to log out so that Bernice can log back in again as herself. And then make sure that I close the tab that I launched when I used login as. And then once you can see that login as button isn't red any longer, Bernice can log back in again with her own user ID and password. So that's how login as works, and that's its intended use, whether you're doing cold timing or past activities. A new feature we added not too long ago is the ability for students to record themselves during hot timing. They can record their story, the reading of the story, as well as reading of the word list if they're in a phonics series level. I'm going to show you how to access it, but you access it at the Pass More Practice screen. Students can then review the recording, and if they want to, re-record themselves before saving the recording. Remember, you can turn this step off if you're a teacher. The administrator can turn it off for the entire account. Very important thing to recognize is that hot timing recording is not supported on iPads. in some browsers, and you want to make sure that you're checking the system requirements for this feature. The hot timing scoring happens when a teacher logs in as the student. So again, they'll see that the word yes in the recording column in the waiting list. So teacher will log in as the student to conduct past activities with or without the student being present, and they can use the recording to score the recording if they choose to do so. So let's take a look at how that's done. So I'm going to go back to my demo. So I have a student named Wanda Amber. So I'll log in as her in a different screen.
Now you're ready to pass. Read the story and play Wordtastic until your teacher comes to pass you on this story. Click Start Timing and begin reading.
So I'm Wanda in this scenario. In order for me to record myself, I have to go through one time of practice on this screen. So on this waiting for teacher screen, past more practice area, I have to do one practice timing before being able to view the recording function. So that's what I'm doing now. After the 1 minute timing is complete, a bell will ring, and then I'll click on the next button in the lower right hand corner, and that will display the recording feature. But in the meantime, Wanda is preparing. She's reading and clicking on difficult words.
Thousands. Hippo.
And remember that recording is optional. So if Wanda does not want to record herself, she can always click next again when she sees the recording function, and that will bring her to the Wordtastic game.
Click on the last word you read when the bell sounded. Click Start Timing to practice again. Or click Next to continue. Click Start Recording to record yourself reading the story. Click Finished if you finish reading before the bell sounds. If you don't want to record yourself, click Next to continue.
So if she wants to record herself, she clicks the Start Recording button, and that will begin a 1 minute timing for the recording. And then when she's done, she'll click on the last word she read correctly. That will save her recording for this time. She can always re-record herself if she wishes. And then the teacher will be able to see that a recording is waiting in the waiting list. So we'll see how that works after this 1 minute timed reading is completed. I also want to acknowledge that I'm going a little bit over my time here. So if you need to exit after 30 minutes, feel free to do so. Remember that we are recording this webinar and we'll send you the recording after it's complete sometime tomorrow. But if you'd like to stay to see the rest, feel free to do that as well. So the recording is...
Click on the last word you read when the bell sounded.
Recording was being saved. I'll click
You
on the
need to
last
practice
word.
more to meet your goal. Click Start Recording and continue practicing. Use the audio controls to listen to your recording. If you want to try again, click Start Recording. Otherwise, click Next to continue.
So at this point, I can either log out and this recording will still be saved. I can listen to myself having done the recording. I'll do that now by clicking on this icon beneath the picture, recording button, and that will begin a 1 minute timing for... Okay, that was my voice being recorded. But I'm going to leave it as is, even though I haven't met my goal. I'll click log out. And now if I go back to my waiting list and click refresh list, you can see that Wanda's recording has been saved for the teacher. And the teacher, when she sees that, can click login under the login as column.
Now you're ready to pass. Read the story and play Wordtastic until your teacher comes to pass you on this story.
And what she'll do
Click
now
Start Timing and begin reading.
is click on Conduct Past Activities, type in her user ID and password. And now the Start Timing button has changed to Score Recording. And then you can either listen to the recording and go through counting words missed and expression score without the student present, or you can just switch out to Start Live Timing.
Click Score Recording, select a timing option, and begin timing again.
Teacher does have the option of either doing a live timing with the student or scoring using the recording. So that's how that works. Click on refresh list, and I'll go back to my PowerPoint. So adjusting story options is another way that you can work with students a little bit more easily when you're doing remote learning. And specifically what you can do is allow students to perform cold timing step without requiring the teacher to be present. The story options screen can be accessed from either the staff or the student modules. And there's other adjustments that you can make. You can adjust the time or remove requirements for prediction and retell. You can add a Spanish read along in the Read Naturally Live program for some students if you wish. So let's see how that works. I'm going to go back to my Read Naturally Live screen. And then I'm going to click on the checkbox next to a student's name, change story options for selected. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to allow students to do cold timing without the teacher being present, this is where you would do that. You would simply select student independent. And again, you can choose to turn off certain steps or provide change different variables like how much time students have for prediction and retell. You can add a supplemental read along, in this case, an English read along for Read Naturally Live students. Parents as assistants, I mentioned that you can add a parent to the program to work with their child at home. Remember to never give parents your own password, but instead, if you want to allow parents to work with their child at home, to include them as an assistant. The account administrator or the school coordinator are the ones who can create Read Live assistants. Assistants are allowed to conduct timings and choose remedial actions, but they cannot view or modify student data. And the assistant for our new feature that we just added can be added to lead teacher's team to view the waiting list. Prior to our March 13th release, they were not allowed to do that. And remember to provide training and discuss expectations with your assistants. So let's see how to add an assistant. I'm going to go back to my account. I'm going to log out as the teacher, and instead I'm going to log in as the administrator. And the way you add assistants is to go to the staff member administration screen. Again, this is for account administrators or school coordinators. So you can see I have an assistant added here. When you add assistants, you simply make sure to click on this, this fourth option under the role column and see that assistants can only conduct cold timings and past activities and word warm-ups activities. They can't actually get in and manipulate or view records. Once you've added an assistant, the assistant is sent an email with their account credentials. You can always add assistants to teams. The account administrator can do that, or the teacher can do it on their own as they see fit. What happens when an assistant logs into the staff member module? They'll see this screen, which provides them with links to videos about how the program works, support materials, including how to conduct a 1-minute timing, etc. And the very first link that you'll see under the resources heading is the waiting list. So this is how the assistant would access the waiting list. They click on that link, and that allows them to see all the students for their lead teacher. Remember, Joe Teacher added this individual, this assistant, to his team, and now she can view and work with any of the students for whom he is the lead teacher. When she's done, she clicks log out, and then she's taken back to the login screen. Oh, I do want to show you one more thing, as long as I was in the account administrator. So when I log in as an administrator and I go to that first tile, account and school administration, there is a feature, there is an option here to enable recording features, that hot timing, past activities recording. That is on by default. If you want to turn that off for your entire account, you simply uncheck it. I'm going to leave it checked for the purposes of our demo. And I have some resource links for you for how to support assistants, including topics on our website, a set of videos for a student's guide to read naturally live. That's a good thing for them to view as well, a set of posters, etc. So these links are in your handout. And then finally, 1-Minute Reader Live, which we also added on March 13th, is an excellent independent reading program for home use. So students can work in 1-Minute Reader Live without a teacher needing to be present and available. You can view my intro to 1-Minute Reader Live on our website if you wish. The link will take you there. And then finally, I want to leave you with some information about where you can find additional resources. This is the Read Live help page. On the Read Live help page, which you can access from Read Live, or just go to our website and select the Read Live help option under Read Live column or menu item. And this is where you'll find a series of videos to assist you in performing most of the steps that you would ever need to do within Read Live. So it's broken down into sections for Read Live generally, and then for the 3 specific programs, Read Naturally Live, Word Warm-Ups Live, and 1-Minute Reader Live. On the right side, you'll find at the very top of that page under Hot Topics, a link to the page that I referred to earlier, Using Read Live in a Distance Learning Model. That's where you'll find a series of articles and information about using Read Live in a Distance Learning Model. There are recorded webinars, including Distance Learning Features Overview that I've done previously, and then we'll put this recording up there as well tomorrow. And free training courses that you can take for both Read Naturally Live and Word Warm-Ups Live, and even resources for 1-Minute Reader Live as well. So I definitely recommend this page to you as an ongoing repository of helpful information for you to use. So I've covered a lot. I apologize for going over my allotted time. There is so much to cover on this particular topic. So I appreciate your patience and attention. I want to thank you all for attending. And just a reminder that we'll be sending out follow-up emails with links to the recording in about 24 hours. So please look for that in your inbox. Feel free to share the recording with anyone at your school or district. Also, if you could, please respond to the survey that will appear on your screen as you exit the webinar so we can continue to improve this educational experience for all of you in the future. Thanks again and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.